Well, the thing that I find infuriating is like force the vote, which I was for. You couldn't have a better situation, but you still couldn't have a better situation, unfortunately, because things are crumbling all around us. If you wanted a real progressive revolt with teeth, you got an eviction time bomb coming. The moratorium's up at the end of the month. The jobs that have come back are mostly shitty service sector jobs. The states all over the country are ending unemployment prematurely, even though most people haven't returned to work.
Right?
This the CNBC crowd is pretending the corporate
Yes.
that the economy is roaring back. Of course, it's not. So like this is a major opportunity for progressive elected so-called progressives to put their foot down and say, yeah, we have the people behind us. And it would galvanize the troops, the Bernie 2016, even all of these progressives
Yes.
rallied around Bernie, and they're just totally squandering it.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, when there still is yet to be a cogent, coherent argument against doing forced to vote. There just isn't, and that's why when AOC decided to engage about forced to vote on Twitter with Justin Jackson, she got owned. She got completely humiliated by Justin Jackson, a professional football player, because her first three reasons were complete and utter transparent bullshit. To the point where the only reason left was Rashida Tlaib said like 2 months after forced to vote was over that she didn't want to do forced to vote because it would have lost and that would have set the Medicare for all movement backwards. Now that is just made up. That is Chomsky said pretty much the same thing. That is ahistorical. There's no historical moment you could point to say, look, when they fought for this policy and then it set it back. That's not a thing. That's not. Can you imagine if they were holding a vote on the floor in the middle of a deadly pandemic for Medicare for all, something that's overwhelmingly popular? Do you know how many rallies there would have been? You know how many emails, how many letters to the editor? You know how that would have galvanized the troops? That's how you build momentum. You don't build momentum by not extracting something for your vote. That's not how it works. And of course, we all know that. And so that's why it seems crazy to me that people will pretend that the people who are against forced to vote were arguing in good faith. They were not. I have still yet to find one good faith argument against forced to vote. There's another bullshit one that Ryan Grimm threw out the other day. He said, well, I was against it because it became a litmus test. Yeah, it should be a litmus test. Just like it's a litmus test, you don't take corporate money. Just like it's a litmus test, you're for Medicare for all, and you force a vote. Yeah, it's a litmus test. If you're not going to vote as a block and strategize and do what you campaigned on, yeah, that's my litmus test.
I also, at a certain point, you have to wonder, like, are they not? Because I think part of it is they're just spineless. I think part of it is they've been seduced by this mentality of, oh, you got to think the long game. But the other thing is, I mean, Joe Biden has put on his Mitt Romney flip flops. He literally has abandoned the very few promises he made: $15 minimum wage, public option, $2,000 checks. He wants to give the police more money as they execute black men. And they're pretty much completely quiet on it, other than a few tweets. There's really no pushback as he totally abandons the very few promises that they do make. And they are, in my view, joining on to Biden and the Democrats as they do the typical strategy of creating a boogeyman. Now they're elevating Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they want that to be the focus heading into the midterms. So it would paper over that they're not actually doing any of the things they promised.
You're 100% right. I would just say I don't know how spineless they are, because they don't have any problem launching reckless smears like when AOC said that I was committing violence against her, when I was just literally exposing that she's not doing what she ran on doing. So I don't think it's spinelessness. I just think that they're just being revealed to be, as Chris Hedges said, the politics attracts the most mediocre of people to begin with. And, they're mostly narcissists and craven. And that's being revealed right now, right? They're not. And even, our everybody's favorite Uncle Bernie Sanders has proven himself to be a go along guy, and he's never going to really fight the establishment. These people just are, they like being in the club. It's 100, if you're in Congress, you get $175,000 a year, plus you get a huge staff, plus you get all the perks. And plus you're going to get a lot of speaking fees. What was AOC's speaking fee at her agency? It was $75,000 to $150,000 a speak. I mean, it's a nice life.
Right.
So they just don't want to upset the apple cart. And they were elected specifically to do that. Now, why is it that the Freedom Caucus, Jordan, had no problem doing what they were elected to go do, but the Justice Democrats won't do it all? And when you point that out, people say you're a misogynist, you're horseshoe theory, you're to the right, you're defending it's crazy with the things they say. All I'm doing is I'm asking the people who are elected as progressives to do what they campaigned on, and somehow that makes me an asshole. Okay.
Right. I want to show Biden, who ran, we were fed from MSNBC and all of them that, no, this is the guy that could actually get things done. This is the guy who could magically, he's pragmatic and he knows Washington and blah, blah, blah. Let's hear Biden now. Apparently, he is completely impotent as president of the United States.
And June should be a month of action on Capitol Hill. I hear all the folks on TV saying, why doesn't Biden get this done? Well, because Biden only has a majority of effectively 4 votes in the House and a tie in the Senate, with 2 members of the Senate who vote more with my Republican friends. But we're not giving up. Earlier this year,
so essentially, it went from I'm the guy, it's kind of like that Hillary Clinton, I'm the progressive who gets things done, to I can't lift a finger to go after Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema, work any magic on Republicans. We can't do anything. So, enjoy expanded Obamacare. That's about it.
Yeah, that was the criticism that they used to make of Bernie Sanders, that Bernie wasn't going to be able to get anything done. And here's Joe Biden saying I can't get anything done because I know we're in the majority and I'm the president and we have a what the fuck else do you need? So again, and I want to go back to the first earlier point about what the squad is doing. They were sent there to not work with the Democrats, but to be a revolution inside that party and fight against them and expose them. They're not doing any of that. In fact, they're defending Joe Biden. So instead of pushing Joe Biden left, embarrassing him, and using his own words against him, all the stuff they're supposed to do, they're not. They're saying Joe Biden gets an A+. I give him an A. This is the most progressive president ever. We've got to come. It's nuts what's going on. And so what I tell people is if you have a conscience, you will vote third party for the rest of your life, because how dare you vote for these people? Joe Biden, a racist, warmongering puppet and tool of Wall Street and an enemy of the workers, and somehow you're going to pat yourself on the back that you're a good person. It's time to start voting third party, no matter what the third party is, whether it's Movement for a People's Party, whether it's the Greens, Socialist Alternative. You got to stop giving your vote to these 2 corrupt, murderous parties.
Right. And I want to show, this is from today, actually, Cori Bush, who just became a congresswoman. I actually know her from coverage I did in St. Louis years ago. I was actually arrested covering Cori Bush and many other Black Lives Matter protesters. Another. Hey,
who was the first show? Who was the first show to have Cori Bush on? Do you know which show was that?
Was that the Jimmy Dore show?
That was the Jimmy Dore show.
Oh, there you go. So at least when I met her and covered her and interviewed her, she was cutthroat, man. She was working 12, 13-hour day shifts as a nurse and then on the streets every day. So again, pre-becoming a congresswoman, I mean, if you would have asked me, I would have said she would be fighting Biden and the Democrats to the tooth. But she just tweeted out this today. I spoke with POTUS in Tulsa. I told them we're dying in St. Louis. The police kill us at the highest rate in the nation. Community members and children are murdered at the highest rates. Mr. President, I'm inviting you to our community to hear our stories. We need your partnership. Well, Jimmy, I mean, at a certain point, this is like asking the arsonist who burned down your house to come rebuild it. I mean, part of why St. Louis has the highest, one of the highest police killings rate is because Joe Biden sent the police weapons of war with the crime bill. It's like, I like Cori Bush as a person, but you're trying to work with somebody who literally is in large part responsible for the problem. And it just seems like they don't get that.
I think they do get that. I can't believe that they're dumber than me, a YouTube host. So I'm pretty sure they see what's happening. They all have high-paid staffs around them to advise them that have nothing else to do but read all day and advise. So this idea that somehow these politicians don't see the bigger picture, I just don't believe that. I just think that this is what happens, right? Again, the most mediocre of people are drawn to politics. They sold out before they even got in Congress. They were. It's amazing, right? And then other people will say, well, you can't sell out if you don't take corporate money. Hey, for whatever reason, you're not working in the interest of the people who elected you. That's a sellout. So you're either doing it for your own career, you're doing it to feel comfortable, you're doing it for corporate money, you're doing it for speaking engagements, you're doing it to get invitations to certain things, you're doing it for future, whatever it is. You're not acting in the interest of your constituents. That's selling out. You're voting and you're doing things for another purpose. That's a sellout. I don't care if they don't take corporate money. That's a very narrow, shallow view of what a sellout can be. So these people are, again, you just, and if you don't pressure them, you have to pressure politicians. You have to make them scared. You know, I've had other YouTube hosts say, well, I think that the way to win over people is to be nice to them. Yeah, this is called, I'm not inviting someone to a prom. We're trying to get politicians to do the bidding of the people against the corporation. So you're going to have to scare the shit out of them. That's how you do it. You hold their feet to the fire and you make them scared to death more of you than they are of the corporation. You don't do that by being nice to them, you morons.
Right. And I will also point out, if it wasn't enough that Biden abandoned all the few policy proposals he said he was for, it just came out today. I mean, this is from the Amazon Post. The Washington Post. Biden's privately calling Lawrence Summers. He recently called, who has been openly critical of it.
Jesus God.
Just a rundown. Lawrence Summers, who pushed Glass-Steagall, which destroyed the global economy, led to the financial crash, who pushed NAFTA, who pushed welfare reform. He was a Bill Clinton administration person who Obama brought back in. I mean, literally, he's moving. I texted you earlier. It's like, no, he's not doing better than Obama. It's like he wants to move towards Bill Clinton.
Exactly right. Remember, the irony of Obama was when he ran for president the first time, he was like, well, you can't have the same people who drove you into the ditch drive you out of it, right? That was his big thing. And of course, he did that. And here we are again now, Joe Biden, going back to Larry Summers, a serial loser. I mean, by loser, I mean everything he does turns out to be a failure. He gets to be rewarded personally, Larry Summers. You know, he gets millions of dollars everywhere he goes. He gets appointed president of universities and things like that. And then he wrecks them. I mean, the guy's a walking disaster, but he's exactly who the corporation likes. So that's why Larry Summers is always going to be on everybody's lips, because he does what the corporations want. I mean, that's not a secret. I mean, the guy's, so again, and Joe Biden, it's no secret why Joe Biden's president. The bankers got together on Martha's Vineyard and they chose Kamala Harris. Well, because she was the biggest tool to Wall Street, right? Well, Kamala Harris couldn't get a vote. So then they switched to Joe. Let's go to trusty old Joe Biden, the guy who's been a tool of Wall Street his entire career. And so then they got both of them on the same ticket. So when Joe Biden finally kicks the bucket, they'll have Kamala Harris. It's amazing how much Wall Street really runs the politics in this country. It is really scary and frightening.